Hello, folks. We're just waiting for our artist instructor to join us, and we'll get started promptly at 1 o'clock or on the hour. It might not be 1 o'clock where you are. Sorry, Claire, I keep muting you because it's the best practice for your microphone to stay muted. And you can just unmute when you need to ask Kathy a question.
Hi, Troy.
Hi, Audrey. How are you?
I'm fine. I guess you're getting ready for your camp trip with your grandchild, right?
Yes, that'll be Friday. Friday evening, we head out for that.
Be exciting. Have a wonderful time.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, how are you doing? Good to hear your voice, Audrey. Is it
It's good to
Audrey?
hear. Good to have you back too. Looking forward to the hummingbird.
Yes.
Yes. They've been landing on my clothesline over and over and over. I never see hummingbirds stop. So this was quite a treat to see one stop. So thought this would be a pretty bird for us to paint.
You know, Kathy, when you said that you have a lot of hummingbirds in your backyard, I've never really seen a hummingbird, quite frankly. So do they really have a long beak?
Yes, fairly long. Yes. If you've ever seen the hummingbird feeders, they're some of the tubes that they have to go in to get the nectar are 2 and 3 inches long. So their beak has to be long enough to get in there and get the nectar. So, yeah.
That's how you can recognize a hummingbird, because they have a long beak then. Is that right? I mean, that's
Well,
one
they're
feature.
tiny, tiny, tiny. I have some hummingbird facts that I was going to read throughout the class, but they're very tiny. They're, I don't know if it says how big they are.
They're tiny birds. They're not big birds.
They're not big birds. They're smaller than a robin, smaller than a canary, actually.
That's very tiny.
They are tiny. They're just a little bird, and they have this long, long beak. Kind of fun. They're kind of fun to see.
And they also hover. That's the difference between them and most other birds.
And their wings flap so fast you can hardly see them.
That's right. That's what's so cool about them landing on my clothesline. It's just a thing I'm excited about.
Are they quiet, or do they chirp a lot?
You can, if you're quiet and your surrounding is quiet, you can hear their wings beating. They beat that fast that you can actually hear them.
And it's like a humming sound. That's why they're called hummingbirds.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, they're beaks. That's what it sounds like. And they just zoom past you. They're really fast. And if you have on bright colors, they may hover over you thinking you're a flower. So it's just an interesting bird. Lots of details about it. I'll tell you, I have 18 interesting facts about hummingbirds that you might not have known. I'll share those with you today.
Thank you.
So we have a few minutes. So we don't have everyone in just yet. We have a few minutes. The background's quite pretty on this, but it will require wetting the whole background except the bird. So if you have a blow dryer handy or close by, there's time for you to go and get that. We will want that background to be dry before we get on to the rest of the picture. Other than that, brushes are the same, anywhere between a 0 and a 6, rounded brush. A couple of buckets of clean water would be helpful. And painting, I think what I had said in the description, because hummingbirds are lots of different colors, if you want to paint your hummingbird a different color than mine, if you have a ruby-throated hummingbird or some other color, or you want to add darks, be my guest. Let this be your hummingbird. So, yeah. So some are more red, some are more crimson, some have a little bit of black, some have some blue. The one that I've sent you has blue, a yellow belly, and a red on its chest. And the beak, we're going to leave half of the beak white, so we won't add the color white. We'll just leave it white and make the top part. We'll just outline the bottom and make the top part a gray black. So, and they're so tiny that you usually don't, you can see their feet in a picture, but usually don't see their feet. So I didn't put feet in this picture. So don't worry about leaving room for hummingbird feet. They'll be really tiny anyways. So if you want to put a little black dot, that's okay with me. That's your bird. So we're on to Well, we got another minute before we start. So if you're brand new to this, this is the free watercolor class that I'm back to offering again every Tuesday. It used to be Tuesday, Thursday, but there's a lot to do in the summer for me. So Thursdays I've just set on the back burner. Perhaps I'll reevaluate and see, maybe we'll come back to that in October. But in the middle of this, I also have my daughter's getting married. So that's going to be a fun event too. So I'll let you know when those details come, but they're not till later on in September. So if you're new to this, I'm Kathy. I'm the watercolor artist for this class. Welcome. Thank you for joining. And if you've been coming for a long time, I'm so honored. Thank you very much for coming back. And once a week, we do something brand new, something just a little bit different. So there's tips and tricks and ideas and fun things that I'll teach you as we go through. So hopefully you enjoy this hour. So we are at the top of the hour. I like to start on time if I can. So we're at the top of the hour. So if it's daytime, nighttime, afternoon for you, welcome again. And I just like to get into art mode. So we'll just take 3 deep breaths and just hold that breath at the top. And as at the ending of that breath, just give yourself a smile, drop your shoulders down as far as you can. We hold a lot of tension here. Focus on something in the room that will give you the attention of right here, and give yourself the gift of this 1 hour of time. So with that, we'll start. Deep breath in and hold it at the top and release. Shoulders down, give yourself a smile. Second deep breath in and hold it for just a second or two and release. And a third deep breath in and hold it and release. So this will be a guided watercolor class. We'll go step by step through the process. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. As far as background colors, we're going to do some blues and some yellows and maybe throw in a little bit of red just for a pink hue here and there. There is no pressure to have the perfect picture. If you're looking at your neighbor's picture and thinking yours doesn't look like theirs, your friend's picture, they're not supposed to look identical. And your picture isn't supposed to look identical to mine either. So there's no rights or wrongs here. So we'll just relax into this. Please remember, it's just a piece of paper. If you're not happy with the first time that you do this picture, then you'll have the drawing or the idea, or you can go back onto the recording and duplicate, do it another time on your own time. So with that, we'll get started. We'd just like you to have a couple of containers of clear water. One I use for cleaning my brushes. The other I use just for in case I need clear water, which I will at the very beginning. At halftime, we will read a little card from the Spirit Junkie. So it's just a fun little card. So halftime, we'll have you choose, actually, I'll have you choose that card now, and then I'll have that ready. So I'll just stand these out. There's a lot of cards. You can see it's a brand new box. I haven't read all of them, so you're going to get the newest, latest, and greatest. So if someone wants to say stop.
Stop.
Stop. Okay. All right. We have the card. Good job. Okay. So thank you for that. And at halftime, I will read that card, and that card will apply to all of us in some fashion. So again, now those are Spirit Junkie cards by Gabrielle Bernstein. I got those on my holiday. Brushes, you'll need us again anywhere between a 0 and a 6, just pointed brushes, nothing special. Paper towel. If you have a blow dryer handy, grab your blow dryer. You do have time to go get it. We'll just take a kick. I'll just wait and go slow if you need to go and grab that. But with that, I'm just going to turn my camera around and we'll get started. And you'll be able to see I have drawn this picture the same. So on screen, you can see the hummingbird already painted in one of the screens, and you should see the hummingbird drawn on a piece of paper with tape around it because I'm going to wet the outside edges. So with that, I'll start with my number 6 brush and clear water, just clear water. I've just got clear water dipping in there, and I'm going to paint my canvas in water all around the, I'm just leaving the bird with no water on it. So we're just going to paint this whole canvas. So I want it to be wet right around that bird. If you get paint on the bird, you can use your paper towel just to damp and tap that off. And you can turn your paper on its edge and just let the light shine on it if you need to see where you've put water and where you have missed. It's easy to miss some spots because it's just clear water, so it's difficult to see. But if you tip your canvas, it will be very easy to see. So we'll just go all the way around, missing that branch, missing the bird. Just clear water. Now my canvas is on an easel. Not sure if you've got yours on an easel or laying flat on a table. If you have it flat on a table, it won't tend to run as much, which will probably be easier for you. But if you have it on an easel, then you may need to just dry a few spots where the water just happens to touch the bird. You do want to go right up along the side of where you've drawn. You want all of that covered. Otherwise, the bird will look like it has a halo around it. So just take your time, add that water on there. And again, if you touch on your bird, you touch on your branch and you don't want that water on, just dry it with the paper towel. Just run your paper towel gently along, and that should pick up the excess. And usually with your paper on an easel, the water runs down, so you might have a little bit of pooling down at the bottom. So you can just touch with paper towel and pick some of that up. So have a look on an angle. Just make sure you've got enough water on there that when you touch paint to your canvas, it's going to start to blend. So we don't want a dry canvas. So be generous with that water. If you need to go back through again and add a little bit more, because what we've done is primed our canvas, and sometimes it just absorbs right in there. So you want it fairly wet. And so our first hummingbird fact is that hummingbirds have tongues that are grooved like the shape of a W. So the color I'm going to use is cobalt blue for my sky to start with. So I've got my water on and I've got cobalt blue. And I'm just going to start to put some cobalt blue in my sky. If you don't have cobalt blue, then some other sky blue will work. Cerulean blue would be fine. If you put on something like an ultramarine blue, it will tend to be a little bit darker, a little bit more on the gray tone. And we're looking for something lighter. So we'll just pop that paint around. Just looking for a nice soft background. I've got a little bit pooling near my branch, so I'm just going to touch that with a paper towel. That will pick that up. So I'm continually adding a little bit more water each time because it seems to be still a little bit dry. And just make sure right around the outside edge of your bird, you've got that paint, so you're not going to have a halo once it's dry. And I bought some new paints the other day. They're Van Gogh paints. That's the name of them. Some of them, yeah, about 2 different brands actually. One is Daniel Smith, and the other one is Van Gogh, and they seem to have a nice pigment to them. I'm not struggling to get the colors to show up actually when I have bought less expensive paints, and they weren't really that bad for a tube. They were $6. Now that's Canadian, so I don't know how that's comparable to your pricing, but for a tube that will last me, I would imagine 3 years, $6 is a inexpensive just cost. So I don't get any benefit from telling you that I bought Van Gogh or Daniel Smith paint, but I do quite like it. Now I've also got a yellow. I have an alizarin yellow light. So I'm going to pop that color just a little bit under the beak. A little bit just here and there in the sky. Now, because my paints are still a little bit wet, I may get a little bit of a green hue because the blue and yellow are mixing. So I'm still going to continue with the water, just moving it around. And I'm going to pop in a little bit of alizarin crimson, a red, so that I get a pink tone in my sky as well. And still using the water, just still blending it. I'm not looking for any hard edges, so I'm going to continue to add water and blend that. So I just want a colorful background, but softly blended. So again, your colors will be different than mine because I'm hitting some of that blue with the red. It's turning a little bit on the purple side. That's okay. That's kind of nice for a background. That's kind of fun, a little bit of drama in there. And at some point, your canvas will start to dry if you haven't continued to add water. And that's when you run that risk of getting hard edges. So try to keep blending as you go along so that you get a nice soft soft look. And sometimes what they call them are like cauliflower spots. So our second hummingbird fact is that hummingbirds have tiny hairs on the tips of their tongues to help them lap up nectar, similar to a cat. Okay, I've got as much paint on it for my background as I'd like. I want my hummingbird to show up, so I don't want to go any darker. It's up to you if you're finished painting, putting on the colors that you wanted. At this point, I'm going to mute my mic and just blow dry my picture. So we have a couple of minutes to do that. So take your time. And we do want your background to be completely dry before we start any further or move ahead. In order to see if your painting is dry, and if you're in a terribly hot place, I say terribly, it's nice if it's warm actually outside, but if your environment is extremely warm, if you have a cool setting on your blow dryer, that would be great. Every now and then you can probably fan yourself with the cool air, but in order to find out if your canvas is dry, using the back of your hand, if your canvas is cool to the touch, your paint is probably still wet. If it's room temperature, then it's dry. So using the back of your hand is best if you're going to use that method. If you use the palms of your fingers, we have natural oils which could affect your painting. Hummingbird fact number 3, a hummingbird's bill is longer in proportion to its body as compared to other birds. If you didn't know that, and we know we have a long beak for this bird. So with the color alizarin crimson and my number, oh goodness, what number is this? I can't read it anymore. A number 3 brush. I'm just going to dip it into water and get some alizarin crimson on, and I'm going to paint this little throat section of my bird in this alizarin crimson color. So here says, hi, so here, nice to see you. And Virginia from Seattle. And I know we've got Beth on from Florida, and congratulations on your healthy recovery. We're glad to have you with us. And Evie from Germany, welcome. So I've got the throat painted for my bird. I'm going to leave that part. I'm not going to try and paint the belly of my bird right now. I want that red part to dry, and we've given a little bit extra time for the outside to dry in case blow drying didn't dry at all. And we'll work now on the back of the bird, the head and the back. And I'm going to use a different color blue just so it stands out from what's already on there. I'm going to use a cerulean blue. It's up to you what other colors, as I said, if you want to use a purple, if you want to use a red, you can go ahead. But I'm going to start, I'm just using my number 3 brush. And this is wet paint on dry. So I've got the paint wet on my brush. This is cerulean blue. And I'm going to just outline to start with where the head and the body, oops, comes down a little more, and the body are. So it's kind of an odd shape. And I'm going to do the outside as well, around the head and down. And that goes more straight, actually. And then the branch is in front of the bird. So I'm going to leave that gap and do my tail feather in the same color. Hummingbird fact number 4, hummingbirds have no sense of smell, but they can hear better than most humans. And in order to leave that eye area white, I'm going to paint around that eye area, just very gently going around the eye area. And I know it looks like a really big eye area, but we will leave some of it white, and we will make the eyeball black. But in order to miss that when we're painting, if we identify what not to paint, then chances are we won't paint over that. Now the bird in the picture has different colors of feathers on it, and the feathers are made by using the same color. We're going to paint an original color, and then we'll come back and we'll put a secondary color on it. And when you're painting for the feathers, if you leave a few white spots here and there as you paint, it will add to the look of your bird. So with this cerulean blue and a bit of water, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to paint all of that blue in, leaving that eye completely open the way I painted it. I'm just going to go around it. So I'm painting the outside just in cerulean blue all the way down. And if I have some little white spots in there, that's okay. I'm happy with that. And the same on the tail feathers. I'm just going to leave a few little lighter spots going right to that branch and just filling in. So you can see if I bring that closer, you can see I've got some white spots on there that I've left. Hummingbirds are attracted to all bright colors, although red is most prominently associated with these tiny birds. So if you have some bright red flowers or something in your garden or wherever you have planters, or you're wearing red, sometimes hummingbirds will go right up to people. I like to work around my picture so that I allow time for some things to dry. I don't want to go anywhere near that blue. I want to do the beak at this point, so I'm going to use black. And I think I'll go to a very tiny brush. This is a very, very small area, so I'm using black. But I am going to add water to my black, so it's more of a gray. And I'll bring that in closer. I'm outlining the top of my beak, and I'm outlining the bottom part of the beak. So the outline on the bottom is quite a bit thinner. And then I'm going to do an extra line at the top of the beak, still leaving white at the bottom. And hummingbirds see an ultraviolet light, and they can see further or farther than humans. And while we've got that black on our brush, and we're just about at half time, so I'm going to read that Spirit Junkie card. But before I do that, we'll just paint this eye. So we've got that little eyeball in the center. I'm just going to paint that little round eyeball in the center for the bird. Now our Spirit Junkie card for today says, I communicate with ease and grace. People are willing to embrace what I have to say. So that's meant for all of us, that we can have tremendous joy if we communicate with ease and grace. So thank you for drawing that card today. Another hummingbird fact, hummingbirds have a great memory. They remember every flower and feeder they've been to and how long it will take a flower to refill. Wow, that's quite a memory. All right, we're going to move to the color ochre. And I'm still using my zero brush on the front part of this bird. And I'll switch over, and I'll let you know when I switch over, but I'll switch over to a bigger brush as I'm going to do the middle of the bird. But I do want a little bit of white around this chest area. I want a little bit of white left at the top of that chest area. So I'm just going to do a little triangle there, leaving a little bit of white. And I'm going to run that ochre down the front of the bird, right down the front, right to the branch. And I'm going to continue with that ochre down the front underneath the branch, right to the branch. Now I'm switching from that zero brush to a number 3. And the only reason I'm switching is just because the area is a little bit bigger. So back to that ochre on my number 3 brush. I'm leaving a little bit of white between that red section and I'm leaving white. I'm leaving a white gap in between. And then I'm going to go right to the blue and paint all the way across. And I'm also going to fill in underneath the branch, right to the blue in that ochre. The hummingbird's brain is 4.2% of its body weight. This is the largest brain in proportion to all of the wild bird group. It's like crazy bird facts. We were talking about birds flying and how they fly. And the hummingbird is the only bird that can fly like a helicopter. It can go up and down and sideways and front and backwards. So now if you remember, I had said when we painted the blue on the bird, it was going to dry, and as it dried, when we put the same color on top of it, it will look like a different variation of blue, but it's exactly the same. So we'll take that same blue, so whatever blue you put on your bird, mine was a cerulean blue, so I'm going to add cerulean blue on top of the blue that's already there, and I'm going to start to make the look of feathers. So I'm just putting little lines indicate the way that the feathers would naturally grow. And the same on the body. Still leaving some of that white. So I know I've got this cerulean blue. It's a little bit darker and it's going to show up just a little bit more. And I'll do the same on the tail feathers. Just going in the same direction that the tail feathers would go. And although hummingbirds are really small, they're the second largest family of birds with over 300 different species of hummingbirds. And we've got that ochre, so I'm going to stay with my number 3 brush. I don't want really heavy strokes, but I'm going to go back to that ochre because my ochre has dried. And I'm going to, from the bottom of the belly, I'm just going to come up with a few light strokes just into the body. And it's the same color, but because what's dried underneath, it will show up as just a slightly different color. So just at the bottom of the belly, and I'm going to do the same from the belly down towards the tail feathers. Just a few light strokes. When we talked about the hummingbird's feet before and how tiny they are also very weak feet, and they just mainly use them for perching. They don't use them for picking things up. Their beak is their main source. And when food is scarce and hummingbirds are fatigued, they go into a hibernation-like state. They call it torpor, to conserve energy. They're pretty smart little birds. And the hummingbird's heart beats up to 1,260 beats per minute. You guys would be so knowledgeable. You'd be sharing this information with everyone.
That's all really good information. Do they have very short lives?
That's what I was going to ask you. How long do they live? Because
Um,
the heartbeat's so fast.
The average lifespan of a hummingbird is 5 years, but they've been known to live for more than 10. So not quite as much as a giant turtle or some of a whale that would live hundreds of years, but for a little bird like that and all that heart beating, they do very well. And hummingbirds do not mate for life. So I don't know what that means. That's just what it says on my paper. And a baby hummingbird is roughly the size of a penny and is unable to fly. So I don't know how fast they grow, but they have 5 years to be fluttering around. They better get busy in a short period of time.
So, Kathy, people don't usually have hummingbirds as a pet because my mother had a parakeet and a canary. So, what you're saying, you don't usually have hummingbirds as a pet, correct?
No, hummingbirds are usually in the wild. Yeah, it's not. You might find them in a butterfly sanctuary because of all the bright colors, but I think they move so quickly and they're meant to be free. So yeah,
Makes sense. Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, now in my diagram, I have a branch that's black, but I'm going to switch mine up and use brown. I have a burnt umber. So this is the color brown that I'm going to put on there. You can see that brown. It looks a little bit red in the picture, but it actually, you know, maybe I just need to put a little more paint and it will be a little darker. So it's a burnt umber. There we go. That's a little bit darker. And I don't need that branch to be a straight branch. As a matter of fact, I'd prefer if it's not. If I run my brush along and just do a few little highs and lows, I'm good with that. And we'll do a lifting off technique just to give that the look of bark once we get that on there. So if you've never done a lifting off technique, this would be a good opportunity to practice. Again, I'm going up and down a little bit. Don't necessarily need that to be a straight branch, but it is in front of the bird. And I'm going to carry that all the way over to the other side where it's a little bit wider coming into the picture. And still a few highs and lows, looking for a little bit of a stick, more of a stick branch as opposed to a straight, even branch. And I've just happened to touch my canvas and got a little bit of a little bump there, and I kind of like that, so I'm going to leave it. I'm not worried about that. But having put this on, this will dry lighter. So hummingbirds fly at an average of 25 to 30 miles an hour and are able to dive up to 50 miles per hour. I guess you don't want a hummingbird coming at you. Okay, so we're doing a lift off technique. So if you've got your brown branch painted, I'm putting my brush into water and I'm tapping off the excess. I'm not drying off my brush. I've got water on there. If I get it really wet, you'll be able to see there's drips on there. There's a big drip. So I'm only tapping it off. And then I'm going to rub along the branch and take that paint and put it on my paper towel. Again, I've got a wet brush. I'm tapping it off. I'm going back on the same spot and tapping off that excess paint. So you can see I've got a line now on my branch. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm not looking for even marks. I'm not looking for road sign-like marks. If I start to get too patterned, I'm going to move to the other end because I don't want them to look identical. So if I move my camera close, you'll see I've got some marks lifted off. So there's some paint lifted off. So we have that nice outer brown edge, and then we've got that look of bark. So again, if you find that you're patterning or things are starting to look the same in all of your lifting off, then move to a different part of the branch. And if you take off more than you want, then we can always add more back. And some hummingbirds will travel over 2,000 miles twice a year during their migration. Now I don't have quite as much definition on my feathers as I'd like, so I'm going back on again with a third coat of fresh cerulean blue, if that's the color that you have used. I'm just adding just a third coat. So I'll still have, now I'll have almost a 3D effect. I'll have a little bit of light, a little bit darker, some white still. And even though I lightened up the black on the beak so that it was gray, it's dried really light and I'd like it just to be a little bit darker. So I'm just using fresh black. And just with short feathery strokes, I'm just going to highlight the top of that beak. Oops. And again, I'll just finally outline the bottom of the beak very carefully. And just with a little bit of black, those little feet that are so weak that they hardly use them, I'm just going to put a couple of little dots there, just at the top of the branch, just with black. Just those tiny little feet. I decided it's tired, it needs feet. Since it works so hard, 25 to 35 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, and going 2,000 miles twice a year. And then with my burnt umber, I'm just going to sign my picture, sign my artwork. I like to incorporate it into my picture. So just down there in the bottom of where the branch is. And then I'm going to take my tape off so that I can see now that I have a boundary or border on my picture. I always like this, removing the tape when you're finished, giving it a nice little border. I don't always tape, only because I made all of the background wet this time and used a blow dryer. And if you're removing your tape, sometimes painfully slow is the best. Otherwise, you can rip your canvas, and take your tape from coming from away from the picture instead of pulling into the picture. Otherwise, you may tear your canvas, and you've done all this work, so that would just be a shame. So there we have our hummingbird. I hope you enjoyed that and you learned a little bit about hummingbirds and a little bit about lifting off and about some background colors. And we like to take a collage picture at the end. So if you are willing to share and have that as part of the art posting, then if you can hold, oh, see, we've got different colors. Oh, Virginia, that's beautiful green. Very nice. Yeah, so we've got some different colors. Oh, and Patricia, yours is in flight. Beautiful. Beautiful. And Audrey, you've got a lovely purple color. I always like to see the different variations. And Nancy, you've got some green on the tail. That's beautiful. Your backgrounds are lovely too. Nicely done. So we'll just see if Troy is ready. So when you get your picture up, just hold it for a few minutes. Hopefully your arms don't get too tired. But we're just waiting to see if Troy is ready for us. Oh, and Troy is there.
I am.
And
Sure.
if you're wanting to share your picture, then hold your picture up so that we can get it in the screen. And Sabra, that's really pretty too. Oh, Jacqueline, you know, there's someone put some beautiful flowers there for them too. Lovely.
Oh, please keep holding your picture up till we say 3, 2, 1. We're just trying to get everybody on screen.
Sorry if your arms are getting tired, but we're just about ready.
Rachel, are you? And just hold off on the messages in the chat for now, because that comes up on the screen too. Rachel, are you going to share your? Rachel,
No,
Lloyd, share your?
I came in a little late, so I didn't get to do it. But I wanted to watch those.
Okay, I have a full.
Okay.
I have a. I think Ziggy, you've got a blurred background, so we can't see yours. Ziggy, you'll have to turn off your blurred background. I don't know if she's not hearing me. Okay, we ready? 3, 2, 1. Folks, please hold still. Here we go. Got it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much, Troy. Those are beautiful. I hope you guys, we can be open mic if you like and chit and chat with whatever you want to talk about. I don't know anything else about
It's fun, Kathy. I learned a lot about the hummingbird, but I also enjoyed painting, with the feathers. So thank you. This is
Oh,
fun.
good. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm trying to turn my camera around here. It's not working. You're seeing my living room. Let's go
You
back
taught
to
us
that
about
bird.
the hummingbird, so I learned a lot today while I was painting.
good.
Thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
good. I'm glad. I'm glad you did. Yeah, that was fun. Interesting facts.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Kathy, I have a quick question about the white spots we left in the eye and around the red. So is it acceptable in watercolor? Just leave not covered with paint spaces?
Totally. Totally. The white in a watercolor picture is what's really helps your your artwork to stand out. If you were doing an acrylic picture, you would paint white on, but in watercolor, you leave white.
Thank you.
If you paint white in a watercolor, then you need to change the name of your picture to be mixed media. It's no longer a watercolor if you paint white on it. So hopefully that helps.
Even if it's a white watercolor paint?
Even though they sell white watercolor paint, by using that white watercolor paint, it changes the name of your picture to mixed media. So, yeah. Just if you're going to put your picture in a
Interesting.
show or sell it to someone, you'd need to declare that.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
What are we doing next Tuesday, Kathy?
I have some surprises. I haven't quite decided. I've got 3 or 4 that I've done, but I haven't decided which one I'm going to do. But I'll let you know by Saturday.
Okay.
So everybody that's on the list will get an email Saturday, and then we'll be good to go again. So
Perfect. When's your daughter's wedding?
September the 25th.
Woo!
Yeah.
You'll be busy.
Not me. I'm in a different province, so she'll be busy.
Excellent. Good planning.
I'm going to visit. She came here and got her dress on the 2nd of April and took it back home. I was quite surprised and happy. I didn't think I was going to even be part of that process, but I was very blessed with that. So yeah.
That was nice of her to do that with you. It shows a lot about her feeling about you, sharing this fantastic ceremony.
It was terrific. Yeah, it was terrific. Yeah. Yeah. So
What province does she live in?
Ontario.
Good province.
I know.
Right.
We could paint a monarch butterfly. They have a lot of facts.
Yes. Yeah, they do.
Facts,
Lots of interesting-
but that's sad.
Yeah, they're on the endangered list now.
I know.
Butterflies.
I know. I have a butterfly bush. I don't know if anybody's ever seen those, but
I have.
they attract the butterflies. So yeah.
Milkweed, yes? Real
Yes.
milkweed.
Indeed. Yep. 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 So lots of different things we can do. Elephants, lions, tigers, more scenery, more birds, stained glass, lots of different
Sounds
options.
fun.
Yes.
I did a cute, my cat.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
excellent.
And
Wow.
for the first time, I used oil pastels. I never used them before.
Oh, nice
And
job.
It was fun. I just
That's
did
a
it for
great job.
sure. But yeah, it was nice.
I love it.
So thank
Beautiful.
you. Wonderful class. Wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for sending it. I don't know what happened to it, but I'm glad you sent it. So
Okay, good. Yes,
have a
I'm glad you
nice
got that
day,
too.
everyone. Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Remember, communicate
Interesting.
with ease and grace. That is our slogan for the day.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, Kathy. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next
Bye,
Tuesday.
Kathy. Thanks a lot for a fun day.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.